All right, so this is our first one where we actually have to create our own tables to help find the sum of the areas. So for this one, we have the function sine of t, and we're supposed to estimate the area of the region between the graph and the horizontal axis over the interval from 0 to 4. Okay, we're supposed to use 8 left, 8 right, and 8 midpoint triangles, and then compare the actual area to the 9 decimal places of the region between the graph of S of t is that, which is the 1.6, blah, blah, blah. Which of the approximations found in part A to C is the most accurate? All right, so with sine, what we have, so it's going to be, coming up and doing this. We're going from 0 to 4, and we have to do the left 8, and then we have to do the right 8. So left 8. So if we start here, and our left 8, it's going to start at this point, 0. And so that's going to be our first point. And now we have to figure out how wide are our intervals. Well, if we're going from 0 to 4, that distance is 4. And we're going to divide it into 8 rectangles. So divide that by 8. So each rectangle is going to have a width of a half. So since we're starting at 0 because it's the left one, then our next one is going to be what? Well, it's going to be 1/2. Now, if we go to add another half, we get 1, and then we get 1.5, then 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now what we have to do is we have to find our heights, and then we have to find our area. All right, so let's go, and how we're going to do this is we're going to go and find it in our calculator first, then we're going to come back and type it into our table. So let's go to our calculator, and I've already typed in the sine function and made sure we have our right intervals here so we can see it. And what we're going to do is we're going to find those heights. And so we're going to do our second trace. We're going to find the value, so we're going to do 1, and we're going to look at 0. What is that value? Well, guess what? 0. And I'll write these down, and then we'll come back and write them into our table. So 0, and then we have 0.5, 4794. Okay, then we have 1, 8415. Okay, then we have 1.5. And we're just, again, finding what those heights are. So that's going to be 0.9975, and we have 2.9093, and we have 2.5, 0.5985, and then we have 3 is going to be 0.1411, and then we have 3.5, and it's going to be in the negative, so it's negative 0.3508. So let's go back. And so we now can write those in. So we said that one was 0, and then we had 0.4794, 0.8415, 0.9975, 0.9093, 59, 85, 0.1411, and a negative 0.3508. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to take this value times half, because this is our S of TI. So, we plugged in our TI and we got these values. And now we're going to take our height, which is what this is, times our width. And our width, we said, was a half. So half of that's going to be 0. And half of that's going to be 0.2374. And that's going to be 0.4208. That's going to be 0.4988. And half of that's going to be 0.4547, 0.2993, and 0.0706. And that's a negative 0.1754. All right. So now that was our height. Now that was the area. So guess what? Now what we're supposed to do is we're supposed to sum our areas. Okay, so I'm not going to write all this stuff. I'm just going to write sum of area. And so now we just take and add all those together. So I've done that already, and I get 1.8062. Okay, so again, we're just adding this whole column together, and when we get to this one, we just subtract that off, and we get that value. Okay, so that's what we do for our left. Now for right, what happens? Well, think about right. So now right, we're going to go, we start to the right 1/2, and we go up, and then we go over. Okay, so we're looking at this piece here, and so we have, instead of starting at 0, we're starting at 1/2. So let's go to the next table. So if we start this one at 1/2 and we have half intervals, then it's going to be 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. And our very last one is actually going to be our 4. Now, guess what we get to do? Now we got to go put all those numbers back in our calculator and see what we get here. So we've done some of them already. You know, we've done all of them basically except for 4. So let's just get our 4. So 4 is negative 0.7568. Okay, so again, we've got the half and all that through the other one. So all we had to get was that last one. So now we can write all of these down here. So we get our 0.4794, 0.8415, 0.9975, 0.9093, 0.5985, 0.1411, negative 0.3508, negative 0.7568. And now we have to take, again, we're going by half increments for our width, so we have to take half of that. So 0.2397, 0.4208, 0.4988, 0.4547, 0.2993, 0.0706, negative 0.1754, and a negative 0.3784. Okay, and again, we're going to find the sum of all these areas. So we're going to add all those together basically and subtract those last two off. And when we do that, we get 1.4301. All right, so that gives us our right hand. Now we have to go to that, you know, the middle, and that's actually supposed to kind of be more of the middle. I don't know why I wrote R. That's the midpoint one. And now let's draw this a little bit bigger. And so now what we're going to do, instead of, you know, we had a left, we had a right, and now we're going to do that midpoint. So it's going to kind of come across here. And so, you know, the right one is a half, and we're going to go between half and 0. So this midpoint is going to be at 1/4. So it's going to be a 0.25. So we're going to have to put that right in the middle there. Okay. Now, so that's going to be, now we go by half, so it's going to be 0.75, and then we'll have, and then 0.5, so it's going to be 1.25, 1.75 again, 2.25, 2.75, 3.25, and our last one will be 3.75. Okay, so that'll get us all the way to the one where it's close to that 4. Now we actually have to go get our values for these now. So 0.25, 0.2474, and we have 0.75, 0.6816, and then we have 1.25, 0.948 or 90, and then 1.75, 0.9840, and then 2.25, 0.7781, 2.75, 0.3817, 3.25, negative 0.1082, and then our last one, 3.75. Or negative 0.5716. All right, so now we got to go write all those in over here. So we had 0.2474, 0.6816, 0.9490, 0.9840, 0.7781, 0.3817, negative 0.1082, and negative 0.5716. Now we're going to take these numbers again times a half, because we're still going to half a unit for our width. And so half of that's going to give us 0.1237, 0.3408, and then we'll have 0.4745, and then we'll have 0.4920, 0.3891, 0.1909, negative 0.0541, and a negative 0.2858. And again, we're taking a sum of all these areas here. And when we do that, we end up with 1.6711. Okay. Now, we only went to 4 decimal places, because if we had to write out, like they said, 9 decimal places, that was going to give us kind of a headache, because that's a lot of numbers. But we can actually look and see which one of these values we got, the left, the right, or the midpoint, is closest one to this. And so so write that 16536. Yeah, and so now let's compare them. So our D was compare, what did we get on the first one? 18062, 1.8062 minus our 1.6536, we get 0.1526. That's how far off we were, just to 4 decimal places. And then for the right one, we have 1.4301, sorry, 301 minus 1.6536. And here we get a negative 0.2235. And our last one, we got 1.6711 minus 1.6536. And so we had 0.0175. And guess what? That was the closest. And we expected that based on what we've seen before with the left, the right, and the midpoint already. So again, nothing different as far as what we expected to get, but this shows just how close we are compared to our other two. Okay, so again, these are very time consuming to find all of them. You know, we only had to do 8. Think if we had to do 20 of them or something like that, that's going to take a lot longer to do. So let's pause there and we'll come back for more.